Hmm. I thought of this topic today because we had the AGM last week, and at the AGM itself it was very good. I heard some people say really good, and I feel like Eli and Tinko did a good job. It seemed to me like joint chairmen. That was a
But
good
mostly
question.
Tinko in the beginning, but then when Tinko had to go,
Yeah.
his parking, he asked.
I think
Nancy
they both
to
did
go
very well.
there.
Now, the thing is, I think the meetings this morning about the divine principle says there's a public purpose and a private purpose. There's a song sang purpose and a countersign purpose. So we as human beings need to get that right, that balance right. You know, that it's actually the principle of the universe that the lesser works for the bigger. Not in the human body, the cells are there for the sake of the whole body. And the thing about divine principle is also saying that the larger purpose should take care of the smaller purpose, but the priority should be on the public purpose. And that's very important, I think, to recognize that. And that's something coming from the original nature. I thought about the original nature a lot this week, like what is the original nature? And that we're going to be people of original nature, but we're not always even knowing what is original nature. That what are the qualities of an original being? You know, we're saying there, fundamentally in divine principle, it says we're beings of heart. There are many other things besides that. There are beings of creativity, of the logos, it says in the invitation thought, but we're beings of heart. But we've not really discovered this heart actually so much in the fallen history. You know, first generation are very cognizant of the fallen nature because we joined divine principle and we understood divine principle and the fall of man and the way of restoration, and thus became very aware of the course to go to remove all the nature, because the original nature was perverted, and our original nature is still within us, but it became perverted to fallen nature. And the original nature would have been that we as human beings would be beings that trusted God first, and then trusted each other. Like the original Adam and Eve, they were meant to trust God first, communicate with God first, and then the trust would be very strong between them. See, that was usurped in the fallen circumstances. So thus, the beautiful qualities of human beings to trust and to communicate with God and to communicate artistically were lost right from the beginning. So there's no real example. And you know, if you study the history of restoration of all the courses, it's all about distrust and not understanding the other person, like Cain not understanding Abel not understanding Cain's heart, and you know, and all of those circumstances. And God is in the background. You know, God is looking at the situation, but now he's not directly involved. He's going looking for his children in so many circumstances. And like in the original Adam and Eve story, that was the thing that struck me quite strongly, that God is in the background. He now has to go looking for his children. You know, where are you, Adam? Where are you, Eve? This is not like a physical thing. This is like a spiritual searching. You know, where's your heart? How can I communicate with you now, so that it's not like a physical thing as such, or you can hide physically, you know, because they said there's like a beautiful environment, but you can more like human beings from the very beginning were hiding something, hiding their most innermost feelings from God. And so this is what I felt a lot about recently about that point, that we need to recover those qualities, original qualities. And in the implication taught, there's a whole chapter on the ontology of God, being with God, and then human nature, original human nature comes from this original being. So we're trying to bring out these qualities of God in ourselves, these, and mostly we bring it out in our family relationships. So now we're mostly we experience these relationships more on the artistic level, but we're still dealing with the fallen situations, because Patricia was asking an important question last week about where is God in this? Where is Ken and Abel? Where is I don't know how to express it, but it touched me quite strongly. That have we forgotten something, in our lives, etc. But I would bring it back to the point of we need to have a higher purpose, devote something to a higher purpose, and then other things would fall into place. Too much external focus wouldn't be enough to help us in the long term, because things that will come up, which we're trying to solve externally, will repeat again, and possibly there's residual anger or resentment, which will come up in another form. What I'm trying to urge us is to find a higher purpose for this building, find a higher purpose for our interactions, so that then we bring God's spirit and a higher spirit. It's very hard to find the balance as human beings, because we're mind and body. The mind and body is closely interlinked. Therefore, the body affects the mind affects the body. Everything is interlinked, but there has to be a consciousness that the higher purpose comes first. And then how do we solve problems is that we have to become beings of heart, beings of love. It's a very difficult point to love others, to love those who are very different to us. In the reading this morning, it explained about, there's three aspects of the human being, like you have intellect, emotion, and will. Although we're fundamentally beings of heart, you'll always meet people who are more intellectual or more emotional than you are, or maybe even more willful or stronger will. And thus, this is just the human makeup. That's the way we are. But we have a bent or a tendency to be more one or the other. But the reality is, we really need to get back to this relationship of heart, artistic unity. Sometimes I listen to Reverend Young in America, and he says the most important thing about the fall is not the actual events themselves, it's the fact of artistic distance between God and human beings. If there was no artistic distance, nothing would have happened. It's like relationship between parents and children. Parents, if you have a good relationship, let's say you feel your parents to some extent are in the place of God. If you have a good relationship, you communicate well, then nothing will happen in your life. Nothing terrible. You will not make a serious mistake because you will communicate. You will have constant communication. If there's a distance, then you certainly will do your own thing. You won't bother about your parents. So that's a very important lesson to learn about how to become a God-centered person. Myself, I've thought a lot about, I had been in a sort of situation where I've been coordinating with Eli, sometimes as an assistant for the last 7 or 8 years, and I've thought about this relationship quite a bit, and I think Eli has expressed it as well. I was hoping that this year now that there would be young people coming in, so I can retire from that, and I almost got away from being a director even. I just, somebody just threw me in there at the end. As a people from but what I'm saying, I wanted to explain to you how I feel about that kind of relationship, you know, because I'm a first gen. You know how I feel about that, because I have this sense that okay, I need to do the right thing. He's younger than me, Eli's younger, and so therefore, how to respect somebody younger than yourself? That's not easy always for an older person, because we always think based on our experiences and based on our training, and everything comes into it, you know. And then the one good part I found in myself is that I can check myself. I can check myself sometimes, you know. Well, now I'm feeling, you know, very frustrated with this brother. He doesn't communicate very much. He's waiting for things to happen, but he doesn't seem to ask people or ask me. But that would be now my perspective, you know. And therefore, thus I get very frustrated sometimes. But I always remember the you know 4 points of fallen nature. Love this person from God's viewpoint. Keep your position. Don't dominate somebody, or don't multiply some bad negativity or something. You know, this always that will come back to me. That would be very helpful to get myself back into tune and say, well, this brother has been chosen as a national leader for this country, and as long as he's in that position, I need to find the heart to respect him as a younger person. And almost like for me, it's like I'm a parent and a grandparent now, so I can see him more like as a son, or you know, he's a mature adult. There's no doubt about that. But from my own perspective, I kind of see him like as like a son, but maybe a bit more. He's a mature son, you know. He's always taking responsibility. He's very hardworking. He's extremely hardworking, and yet he seems to be overwhelmed a lot of the time. And I don't even know what I can do to make that better. So that's just from the point of view of the fallen nature itself, you know, that we do have fallen nature, but it has to be resolved in a good way, you know. It would be no good for me to say, let's put up a coup here and let's try and get rid of this leader, because he's not doing his job. But I realized even that came to my mind. No, I would never do that. Never do that. I love Sweden as a brother, and because I'm a principled person, so that's that. But I have to admit, there has been times I've been very frustrated, and I know he's very frustrated with me because he's expressed that saying. He said like, I talked to John, but I don't really know him, or, you know. And I was wondering how many times have you really talked to me in that sense? But yeah, what I want to really try to get people is to think about the higher purpose. Really, the fallen nature is important, to be honest, because we still have it. We're not completely rid of it. I don't know if you second generation have any fallen nature, but maybe sometimes. No, it's like he's saying the way you read it this morning was very good, and even the mistakes you did well. Really, what I'm trying to hopefully that recognize the fallen nature, but it's almost more in the context of a family. You know what I mean? If you're like brothers and sisters, and we have things we find very difficult with somebody, even the family, it's easier to get over it. You know, like in the sense that you can overcome things easier. I think you change your mind. This is my younger brother. This is my younger sister. This is my older brother. If we don't feel like that, if we can't feel like a family, then we clash too much, you know. And it becomes complicated because now we're not just individuals, we're couples and we're families. You know, when you're having a problem with one person, you're a problem with a whole family or etc. You know, so really we have to upgrade ourselves. You know, it was so simple when I was a single person, when I was a young person, but I learned so many lessons from relationships with a central figure, because of my position always had been a supporter almost. It was like a right back to the days when there was a brother here called Bob Duffy, and he was the national leader. And Bob Duffy was a Canadian, but he was charismatic Canadian. So he had a very, very wonderful way of interacting with people, you know. He played the guitar, and he was very good with young people. But my background, because I came from a family that didn't have such a close relationship with my parents, especially my mother, and I think even with my father wasn't brilliant. So when I came and joined the church, I was still seeing the central figure. I'll see through him, you know. In a sense, I was a bit aloof and keeping my distance, you know. And I'm a little bit skeptical, you know. I'll find out how this person is really and because. And I did. Unfortunately, I found out, and it was quite a shock to me, because one time he invited me to a meeting, and we were going to England on the boat. Before he went, he said, "I have to buy some clothes." And with my came in mind, I thought, maybe I want to buy me something nice. I thought, you know, with that. But you know, he went to a beautiful store, and he bought himself a very nice tweed coat or something, you know, and he said, "I need to wear that now for the meeting," he said, you know. But it stirred up in me a lot of bad feelings, you know, at that point. And I didn't realize it, but later then it stirred up something else, because another incident happened, and then I blamed him, or I blamed the national leader couple for that, you know. And I was just very young at the time, but this was just saying things build up, and only as I got older and I got a lot more mature, and I see people from a different viewpoint, in a way like God. We want to see like how God sees that person, because many years later I met this leader again, maybe 30 years later since he left, a long time ago, but I met him, and then I had a good rapport with him, you know. We laughed about things in the past, and he seemed to have forgiven a lot of things that happened in the past, you know. And so when you move on, then things change and so forth. And going back to the point of the original nature or the fallen nature, we want to cultivate the original nature, or deal with certain elements of fallen nature, you know. I guess the best way to do it is through communication. And I really think that we need to also put priority on the spiritual communication and improve the relationships so we can trust each other more. In this nation, I do feel that we're still lacking quite a lot. And some people have different feelings about that, but I really think that we could really try to figure out how to cultivate more positive and uplifting, and try to see the good in people around us, the good aspects in a person, but also recognize that you probably don't know this person as well as you think you know them, and have to actually know the background of somebody almost. You need to really pray about it sometimes, because if you don't know the background, even you don't know the story, you know, like for example, all the first gen have a history of, they didn't join, like they weren't born into the church. They lived a different life before even they came to the principle. So if you didn't know that, you wouldn't even know why they are acting in certain ways, in certain circumstances, you know, why they're so harsh in some points, or they're so righteous in other points, you know. But and then we first, second gen probably can't even figure this out because, the parents seem to be like this. But the one thing good about the first gen, they have a public mindedness, or they have a righteousness towards God's purpose. So I think combining together, we could make something beautiful for God going forward, because we really need to go forward. Because we need to make a plan as well. I think partly today there's a planning meeting. I hope this can be the start of something new, like change priorities. Priorities I think are very important. What's your priority in life? We all have our priorities. Family priority, or have something else. But we need to raise the priorities to public purpose more. I know that to actually get something done, that's another stage. But first, let's change the priorities. Let's put the higher priorities and purposes first, and then see how we can incorporate in everything else. Because I don't think there's a solution, to be honest, to the situations that we're constantly finding and recurring happening related to this public property. But because it's very difficult to define what public and private, we're not able to do it. It would be simple if this building was solely for a public purpose, such as a peace embassy. It was only for that purpose. But because we're trying to do two functions: use it as a living place and as a public building, and we're just not getting the balance right. And it's very difficult to solve it without at least putting the priority for the higher purpose first, and then everything else has a chance of falling into place. May not be, but certainly we have a chance then. Some people would give their right hand for a building that you own. There's an awful lot of communities around Europe or around the world. They don't have any public building. They don't have something that they own. So it may be harsh for me to say this, but my feeling is it's like a blessing and a curse almost. But it's like most people would say it's a blessing, but sometimes it's almost like a curse, because we don't know how to put the public purpose first then. We don't have a desperate heart even to live for a higher purpose. Just would like to say that today, really, in context of these things, I hope I didn't say something that people misunderstand. It's been all self-related, and thank you all for your attention. Our beloved Heavenly Parents, thank you very much for your grace and love to each one of us. We really pray, Heavenly Parents, that you can guide us in a good way going forward, and to use our resources in a good way. Heavenly Parents, we all the time we have individual purpose and family purpose, or community purpose, all kinds of levels of purposes. Nobody has been able to do this in the past. We have the example of our two parents who incredibly lived the highest public purpose. They had tremendously difficult situations in their family, as we know. Their children were not could not grow always in a God-centered way, and they also had so many troubles in their hearts. So it's really difficult for any family to put the priorities right, to be able to say we're able to do something for a higher purpose, at the same time raise our family very well. And then it's also important for each one of us to find our deep purpose in life and to contribute something to a higher purpose. And we really pray that we can all do that very well. And we wish and pray for all our new blessed families, and for the next generation of children growing up, that they will also receive your best education, but also will have something inside themselves, something in their heart that's like a passion for God, and passion for true parents, or at least something which they can have, that they can give to others. Heavenly Parents, please let each one of us find our true purpose or true gifts from God and contribute to your providence. I really pray this. Thank you so much. I pray you for John Kennedy, blessed her family. Chew. A short video. This one showed 7-8 minutes, and this is True Mother speaking in Korea recently, and she speaks about again heart, which I thought was relevant to this service.
Hello everyone, and welcome to another edition of HJ Global News. In Korea, the natural beauty of autumn has embraced the land, but the last month or so has also brought increased concerns for the security in Northeast Asia. And in Korea also, we are praying for the many young people that lost their lives in the tragic incident in Seoul 2 weeks ago. On a brighter note, True Mother made good use of the mild weather to great advantage, meeting with the main leaders of our movement in Korea, and the main topic of conversation was the new building, Cheonwon-gung, which is in its final stages of preparation. This week, we bring you a report on that meeting and on other good things happening around the world. Amid the brilliant beauty of the autumn leaves, True Parents visited Yongpyong Resort to meet the leaders of the providential organizations in Korea. Church members who were at Yongpyong for an outdoor service welcomed True Parents enthusiastically. The Korean leaders meeting with True Mother focused on victory for Vision 2027 and the dedication of the Cheonwon-gung and Cheonil Sanctum. Beginning with the Heavenly Korea Family Federation, providential organizations presented their plans for succeeding in Vision 2027, and the leaders pledged to do their best to bring about the day that Heavenly Parent has longed to see. Along with the Cheonwon-gung construction progress report, the directors of the exhibition and art subcommittees presented videos with previews of the magnificent and beautiful Cheonil Sanctum and Cheonwon-gung exhibitions scheduled to be dedicated in May of next year. In the afternoon, the leaders accompanied True Parents on a pilgrimage along the 1,000-year Jumok Forest Trail at the top of Balwangsan Mountain to inherit the wisdom from the yew trees who live in such close harmony with the laws of nature. Then it was time for a special session in which True Mother lovingly called on all the leaders to reach out to and bring the entire human race to be restored to the original form that Heavenly Parent originally intended.
내가 오래전부터 우리는 심정문화혁명을 일으켜야 된다 하고 말했어요. 그것은 본래 창조주 하늘 부모님의 꿈은 지상에서 참 부모를 통한 자녀들을 만나서 함께 생활하고 싶으신 것이었어요. 내가 엊그제 선문대학에서 얘기했듯이 한 사람의 의로운 사람에 의해서 참 문화가 바뀌는데 이렇게 50년, 60년이 지나도록 왜 그 문화를 바꾸지 못했을까? 반성해야 됩니다. 그러면 어떻게 해야 되겠어요? 그동안은 교회에서 순교 교육도 하고 했지만은 이제는 지금의 대내에 2, 3세 4대까지 있는데 참 세상의 청소년들을 자연스럽게 창조주 하나님의 창조물을 보아서 느낌과 깨달음과 반성하는, 내가 이 나무를 보아서 천년 주목 숲길을 통해서 많은 세상의 2세, 3세들이 교육을 받아야 돼요. 그게 그들이 자연스럽게 이 심정 문화, 하늘을 공경하고 부모를 사랑할 수 있는 그런 문화를 자연 가운데서 터득하며 배우며 우리의 본연의 창조의 그 아름다운 자연 법칙, 타락하지 않은 만물 세계는 창조 원칙에 따라서 계속해서 순환되고 번성해 나가는데 타락한 인간만이 모든 문제를 만들고 있어요. 그래서 우리는 보여줘야 돼, 가르쳐줘야 돼. 그래서 이 아름다운 자연에서 여러분들과 함께 미래를 향한 승리, 또 미래의 아름다운 결실을 열매 맺을 수 있도록 노력함으로써 희망찬 내일을 향해서 전진합시다 하고 모이라고 했습니다.
Wishing to be close to True Mother's heart, the leaders expressed their appreciation for the special meeting and sang songs that true parents love. They offered prayer for the day to come quickly when Heavenly Parent and True Parent's dream would be achieved. With autumn at its peak in HJ Chonwon, with bright, beautiful leaves and a warm sun in the clear autumn sky, an autumn Hyojong Nuri was held together with True Mother. True Mother greeted the Songhwa children with a bright smile and gave them a simple message of love.
너희들은 말이야, 왕 엄마와 하나 된 가족이야. 그래서 너희는 왕 엄마가 사랑하는 효동이야. 효동아, 사랑해. 너희들도 형제끼리 서로 사랑하고 사이좋게 지내야 돼. 아이, 착하다.
True Mother blessed the children to grow up healthily with a heart of filial devotion toward Heavenly Parent. The children performed cute dances to express their love for True Mother, who took a commemorative photograph with them and gave them gifts. It was also a wonderful time for the core leaders to share the beauty of nature, expressing Heavenly Parent's warm love for all of us, and to take a commemorative photograph together with Mother.
In partnership with the Think 2022 Institute, the 34th piece.
Thanks very much for that service, and thanks about the update from True Mother. So yeah, we'll now close with our final song. Song.
If anyone wants to book the assassination of Prime Minister Abe and the Christian Church, I have copies available.
Here we go. So we're gonna keep it on beat. Let's find our spirit. Our message today. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Hosanna, sing of glory. Glory evermore. Hosanna, come again. Sing Hosanna.
So yeah, I guess we'll move on to the announcements. I believe Eli at 1 o'clock, probably sometime after lunch, wants to have a meeting with whoever's interested with discussing, I guess, the internal 1 o'clock, yeah. Yeah.